Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you, and you may now be seated. Today I have a very special guest. Today I have an honor and privilege to interview a real U.S. Secret Service agent for a live interview at our school. Billy Joe Powers is a great friend of mine. Thank you for coming today.
Great, it's great to be here. Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome. Mr. Powers, what is it like being a Secret Service agent?
Well, it's a really good job. I've really enjoyed it. I started off in local law enforcement. I was an Atlanta police officer for about 7.5 years, and then came on with the Secret Service. Got hired in the Atlanta field office, and I've moved around quite a bit. I've had 6 moves with the Secret Service. Had a lot of interesting assignments. At one point I was on the President's detail in Washington, D.C. for about 5 years. George W. Bush was the president at the time. And then during the 2008 campaign, when Secretary Hillary Clinton was running against who would become the president, Barack Obama, for the Democratic nomination, I was with her that whole time as her detail leader. So it's been a very interesting career that I've had.
That sounds pretty awesome. You just talked about some of the assignments you've had. Could you go into more detail about some of the assignments?
Sure. So I started off in the Atlanta field office and doing mostly criminal investigations. And what we investigate are pretty much anything that has to do with money, counterfeit money, or where people are doing bank fraud or credit card fraud, anything that has to do with what they call the monetary systems of the United States. So I did that, and after about 4.5 years, that's when I transferred to Washington, D.C. and worked on the President's detail. Traveled all over the world, went to many countries and to every state except for Alaska. I still haven't hit that one yet. But we go out and we make preparation for when the President's going to go to different places. Just like last week, President Trump was here in the Tampa Bay area and went to MacDill Air Force Base. And about a month ago, President Obama was here while he was still president, and it was his last trip here to Florida, and he also went to MacDill Air Force Base. So we do the preparations for them to come here. But while you're on the President's detail, you'll do those preparations, but you'll also travel with him. So I've traveled on Air Force One and to different places with him. After that assignment, I transferred to Memphis and did criminal investigations. Then I got my first promotion. That's when I went to Hillary Clinton's detail, and I was on that detail for about 3.5 years. And then after that, I went to Albany, Georgia, which is just north of here, and I ran a small office there. And then I transferred back to Washington, D.C., and I was in the Office of Inspections, and that's basically internal affairs, where we look into if somebody does something wrong, kind of like getting sent to the principal's office a little bit. So that was my last assignment before I came here, and now I'm what they call the special agent in charge of the Tampa field office district, and it pretty much encompasses the whole western part of Florida.
That sounds pretty cool. Mr. Powers, what would I have to do to become a Secret Service agent?
Well, anybody can become a Secret Service agent if they make the right preparations. So it's important for you to finish school and finish school successfully, and then you need to go on to college and you need to get a bachelor's degree, so a 4-year degree, and it can be in any subject. It doesn't have to be in criminal justice or criminology or something like that. For example, I have a business administration degree, and actually one person in my Secret Service Academy class was a high school English teacher, so he had an English degree and a teaching degree. So you need to get that degree. The other thing that you need to do to make preparation to be a Secret Service agent is to ensure that you do the right thing. You got to stay out of trouble, because when we do your background investigation, we go back and we check the things that you've done, and we make sure that you're telling us the truth of that you've done the right things, you go through a polygraph examination or a lie detector test. Some people will call them that. So that's some of the things that you need to do. So basically, get your education and try and live the type of life to where you don't have the blemishes on your record to where it makes it to where you can't be a Secret Service agent. And it matters what you do right now, even in the grade that you're in right now. And that goes for just about any job that you have in the future. The way that you conduct yourself now matters to the future.
So if you get hired to be a Secret Service agent, before you have your assignments, do you have to go through a special training where you get taught what to do in certain situations?
You sure do, Nick. So the first thing that you do is you go to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center, and that's in Brunswick, Georgia, just a little bit north of Jacksonville. And you go there for about 3 months, and basically you're learning how to be a federal agent. And many other federal agents besides Secret Service go to that same academy. You have people from Homeland Security will be there, people from the IRS go to school there, U.S. Marshals go to school there. So once you learn that, then there'll be another school that you go to, and that's more specific to Secret Service, and that's in Laurel, Maryland, which is a suburb of Washington, D.C., and that's where our training academy is. And you'll learn some of the same things, but you'll also do more things you'll learn about more things that are specific to the Secret Service, like our financial crimes investigations and our protective mission that we're most known for.
That sounds pretty cool. Why do agents agree to sacrifice their lives for the sake of the president?
Well, I think that you don't do it for the person who's sitting in the Oval Office. You do it for the office of the presidency. We consider ourselves the guardians of democracy. So it doesn't matter who's elected to be the president, whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. We protect whoever's in that spot because we need to make sure that whoever is the president at that time has the ability to do their job as the chief executive of the United States and as the commander-in-chief of our military. So it's not the person, it's the position that we protect. So there are agents who were on the president's detail last fall who were there with President Obama, and those same agents are still there right now who are with President Trump. So again, it doesn't matter who's in that seat, it just matters that it's the President of the United States.
That's a great statement you just made. Has anyone ever been shot while guarding the president?
There have been some people that have been shot while guarding the president. One that comes to mind was back in the 1980s when the assassination attempt was made on President Reagan. That probably seems like ancient history to you, but it seems it was something that happened while I was in high school. And there was an agent named Tim McCarthy, and he did what he was supposed to do. He went right out in front of the president, and if you look at the old footage, you can see him not making himself small, but making himself big to take that shot, and he did. He survived, and he retired from the Secret Service, and now he's a police chief in Illinois, actually.
What kinds of things do agents take with them when they're out on assignments?
Well, we take a lot of equipment with us. Some of the equipment I have here with me today. Obviously, we have the symbol of our authority, and that's our badge. We have one that we carry on our belt and one that we carry in our wallet. We also have, obviously, firearms that we carry. We have different types that we carry. Didn't bring one of those today to show to you, but we definitely do that. If we have to arrest somebody during our duties, we have handcuffs that we use. We wear body armor underneath our suits. So sometimes we may look a little bit bigger than we actually are, but that's because we're wearing, whereas you see a lot of police wearing them on the outside of their uniforms, we actually wear them underneath our suits. So our suits have to be a little bit bigger. One of the other things that we carry are these protection pins, and they come in 4 different colors, and they are replaced. Both the colors and the shape of these pins are changed every so often. And what these do is these identify us to other Secret Service agents. Because if I was on the president's detail and I was leaving Washington on Air Force One and we were traveling to, say, Los Angeles, those Los Angeles field office agents would have pins on that match the color of the day for the same ones that I'm wearing, so that we would be able to identify each other.
So before we went on, you said you switch out those pins every 4 years. Correct?
Yeah, they do. We switch them out about every 4 years. We sure do, just to combat against someone counterfeiting them or something.
You cannot counterfeit those. That sounds actually pretty cool. Mr. Powers, thank you so much for serving our U.S. government and protecting presidents. It was an honor having you visit my school.
Well, Nick, thank you. It was great to be here at Burns. It's a great school, and I know that you're a good young man and try to do the right thing, and I just really appreciate the opportunity to come here and tell the students about the U.S. Secret Service.
Thank you.